Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, good day, good dawn, good dusk, good desk. Welcome to The Long Shot. It is a podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Sean Conroy. With me today on the program is the other host of the show. Miss Amber Kenny is here.
Hello, I'm here. You got me.
Co-host of America's favorite audio diary. We've had a couple of weeks of truncated episodes because Amber was out of the country and she's back. Well, let's find out what's going on, Amber.
I got
What's
COVID.
the latest?
I got COVID. I don't know. It feels like you must have mentioned it on an episode because I've gotten some messages from people.
Did, yes.
I've got some well wishes. And I was like, I didn't even get to tell it myself.
I believe I said you were doing well-ish, but you had contracted COVID and were unavailable.
Yes.
I apologize for the spoiler.
No, it's all right. There's plenty to talk about. Would not recommend. It's no fun. I tested positive a week ago today. Still not feeling great. I spent the whole week this week at work though, because working from home, it's kind of hard to.
It's not like you can stay home.
Right. It's hard to justify, like, no, I can't answer that email real quick.
Right.
But it is no fun. Jeff and I both got COVID. He seems to be on the upswing. I do wake up early in the morning and walk smudgy and have the whole time. And I'm wondering if that's kind of prolonging my symptoms and tiredness, because they say rest, but I have to take care of my dog. The one fun thing is we would both be sitting on the couch and like one of us would sigh deeply and the other person would say, "Oh, what's wrong?" And it's like, well, I have COVID.
It was not a mystery that you needed to get to the bottom of. It was just like very evident.
Easy answer. Yeah.
Like something's not going on. There's not a problem. It's just I have COVID.
I mean, there's something going on and there's a problem, but it is COVID.
Right. But it's not something we need to unpack. It's not like we have to go like, well, tell me, let me in on your feelings. Let me know how you're, what's going on in your head. It was just like, it's not going on in my head. It's going on in my lungs and in my body.
Right. And this might be boring because it feels like a lot of people have had COVID or currently have COVID. So
it's been going around. Lots of people in the country. I mean, 1 million people have died.
2.5 years. Yeah. I'm super duper thankful that I was vaxxed and boosted and that this is like the weaker strain. Because I'm not loving it.
Right. So you got 1.2.12.1.2.12.B.
Yes, sure. I mean, I don't know how I would even know what strain I had.
No, I don't know.
Unless I went to a lab.
Right.
But we've talked about this a little bit via text. Like there's something very strange about spending. Oh, hello. Special guest. Everybody hold the phone.
Who could it be? Who could it possibly be? Oh, it's Jamie Flam, everybody.
What a treat.
What a special guest.
Jamie, we were just discussing Amber's COVID. I don't know if you knew that she has COVID right now.
I still have it.
Yeah.
Are you in a hospital? If you are,
I'm not in
a hospital.
I'm not in a hospital. I'm in my house. But
she is on a ventilator, though. You can't really see it.
I'm doing fine, all things considered. It's just not fun. I wouldn't recommend it. Oh, but that's what I was saying. It's wild to spend 2.5 years actively avoiding something and then just getting it. Like psychologically, it's strange. Like, well, okay. I don't know. Like, it's very weird. But what else was I going to say about that? I don't know. Yeah, don't recommend. Mask up, wash your hands.
You don't recommend it?
Yeah, not a fan.
It is weird how many on various sides of the political spectrum are recommending that you get COVID. I guess there is actually a faction of people that's recommending that you get it because that leads
herd
to
immunity.
Herd immunity, right? Which is never going to happen.
Right.
Well, before we get into what's been going on with Amber, I think it behooves us, speaking of herd immunity, it behooves us to find out what's going on with the man who has not been around in quite some time. He has been missing in action, or at least in action elsewhere. Jamie Flam, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I genuinely miss you guys. It's been 9 months, 6 months, a year. I honestly don't know which of those, but it has to be a denomination of.
It seems like yesterday.
It does. Yeah, when I got the email about this recording just a few minutes ago, it occurred to me that there might be a checking in and an asking about what I've been up to. And
oh, no. Please tell me this is not about to happen. This is impossible.
My guess is that what people want to know the most is where my steps are at.
Oh, big time.
And I'm proud to say that this might be, as we're nearing the end of May, might be my biggest month ever. I might finish the month with an average of 15,000 steps a day.
How are you squeezing them all in?
And how are you keeping track of all of them?
I got this great app, I'm sure I've mentioned in the past. It's called Pacer. And I hold my phone. I'm addicted to my phone. I'm constantly holding my phone. It's several walks a day, usually 1 or 2 or 3 longer ones, maybe a couple shorter ones.
What constitutes a long walk?
I would say
like an hour.
On a really good day, before my first walk of the day, I've got 9,000 to 10,000 steps. So maybe an hour and a half.
And what constitutes a short walk? Does that mean just getting up from your desk and going to the restroom?
I mean, on some level, yes.
Holding your phone up the entire time?
Marching.
I mean, I feel like I've talked about this past. There are nights where it's like, shit, I got 13,800 steps and I'm not going to go outside, so I'm just pacing around my apartment. Whatever. This is a check-in I've done for literally probably a decade.
It's hysterical. I have to say it, that we haven't seen each other in so long. We're in the middle of a pandemic, the state of the world. There was a national tragedy this week. And we're talking about your steps. I'm just saying. I'm just noting.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're noting it because I would be noting it much more.
How are you?
harshly.
How are you guys besides the COVID?
No, Jamie, no. Don't deflect, okay? Tell us what's going on. Give us some insight into your life. Amber and I have kept up with each other quite a bit over the last 6 months, 9 months, a year, whatever. It's like, oh, here goes Amber again with all her fascinating stories about her life in a different part of town. So give us some insight into what's been going on with you.
Let's see. I still have a theater called Dynasty Typewriter.
Yeah.
That has been, I would say that's probably the through line of joys and challenges. And can you guys believe this? It'll be 5 years.
No.
In November.
I don't believe that.
I don't either. It doesn't make sense.
But we did lose 3 years in there. So it's really like you had it 2 years.
Do you still have all those plastic leaves in the lobby?
No.
Okay, good.
You know what? And that's actually a great entry point because I do feel I've evolved I'm proud that we had like the vines, they were coming from a place of enchantment, but yeah, they were not a long-term good call for
They served their purpose.
They served their purpose. They got it through the first couple of years. But yes, it's been a roller coaster whirlwind. I feel like we're finally starting to get some momentum. We've hired some people. We fired some people.
Let's talk about it.
Did you fire anybody that you hired, or vice versa?
Yeah.
Can you give us a specific? Like, was there one instance where you were like, "This is a great hiring story," or "This is a great firing story"?
Like this, they stole something.
And you hired them.
Unfortunately, for some of these cases, you wish.
Like you came in one morning, it was 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was somebody who
holding
was
up
just
the help wanted sign.
Right. No, somebody who was like taking files out of the back, and you were like, "Hold it right there." And then you had a conversation, and it turns out you have a kind heart, and you're like, "Look, I live this way too. I used to steal files from the Improv all the time. Do you want a job working here? Would you like to be the file clerk?" Any hiring stories like that?
That's a good one.
Not like that. But it was so specific. I wish there was a story like that. No, all of it's very fresh too. So I'll just focus on the me of it. But I think it sounds so cliche, but some of these situations are like they're a nightmare to deal with. But in retrospect, like we needed to go through that to truly understand how to move forward. And I think now with 5 years, there's a lot of that. Like, oh my God, we're just starting to come into understanding what it means to run a business and all the things. So
what's a nightmare that you had to go through to learn from?
Well, it's not specific to this, but about a week ago, we have a sign outside of the gate that tells delivery people that if no one's there to call this number or to go around the corner to drop it off.
Oh man, I know where this is going. Go ahead.
And okay, so we got a beer and wine license.
Oh, nice.
Which was over 2 years in the making, and bureaucracy and dealing with the city, and that was crazy. But we finally got it, which is a huge step for us as a business and for the experience of coming to see a show. Someone can have a beer or some wine or a canned cocktail. And so when the delivery drivers come, sometimes there's no one there. They know to drop it off in our building manager's office. But because of that, we had to install security cameras. So we got on our...
Because of what? Because of the beer and wine license, or because of the sign out front?
Because of the beer and wine. There's a ton of things you have to do as a business.
Legally, you were required to have security cameras because you're now serving beer and wine.
I don't know if every business has to, probably, presumably, but you get what are called the conditions from the city. Like, we will grant you this, but here's literally 20 pages of like conditions 1 through 65.
Right.
Well, and what is the thought there that people will break in and steal the wine?
I think it's mostly just so they get good footage for those clip shows on True TV
people are
where it's
tripping
drunk
over
people.
themselves.
Yeah.
I think on one level, it's that the law enforcement, they do know that there's going to be a added
violence,
potential of things happening,
theft,
and so they want to have less work on their end. So if they have more cameras,
typical.
But we also have to have security now every night, which is, I'm happy to have it.
Did you hire that guy from the Improv that always wanted to punch you to death?
No, didn't hire him. We brought him in for an interview, actually, but still wanted to punch me, which didn't make me feel
opened with that.
He put that down as special skills, punching Jamie to death on his resume.
That was 12 years ago, probably.
That's insane. No.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That was probably 2011. which
That's
is
only 11 years ago.
So security. I forgot totally where I was.
Yeah, I'm trying. As always, I'm trying to
Entry point.
just figure out what your story was there, because it started with the sign out front, the delivery guys around the corner, security cameras, beer and wine license.
Oh, it did feel like you were going.
And then it was just like, and then we have security and police are lazy and blah, blah, blah,
So the sign that directs delivery people, it's like a nice sign. There's grommets. It's been printed at a place. I'm going to say it might cost $40 to print it.
Mm-hmm.
But you want something that's sturdy.
How many grommets?
I think there's 2 grommets.
Mm-hmm. I'm always in favor of at least 3 grommets, because if you just have 2 and you tie them at the corners, it's easier for people to rip it off. But if it's tied all the way across, Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's funny. I will have to look at the security cam footage of it being stolen.
Oh no!
Because someone came up, this is last week, and one of our employees noticed that it was missing, and then they're like, "Hey, let's go look at that footage." And sure enough, you see this lady come up and initially try to, I think, get into the theater. But then as a consolation prize,
she's like, this is a nice sign. It probably costs $40. I'm going to take it.
She started trying to get it and then had some sort of device, like a cane, or it almost looked like a thing that you'd press and it would have like a claw to pick.
Like the thing that you get something off the top shelf with?
Yeah, that thing.
Right. And
then she finally got it. I don't know what she did with it, but just going back to what I said a moment ago, consolation prize. It's so funny. I just said it because I think in the last 2 days on some podcast or something, I heard someone say consolation prize. And I started thinking about it. It's for someone who's consoling or needs consoling. It's like the prize for the poor person that is sad.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it like that.
What's happening right now?
Exactly.
I don't follow. I feel like I missed a step there.
He just realized what the word consolation.
That's not related to the story at all.
No.
I think it can be.
Okay.
No, she wanted to break in and punch you to death.
I see. So the sign was her consolation prize.
Yes.
And you just realized that it was because she needed consoling because she couldn't get in. And you were listening to a podcast where they said consolation prize.
Which is why, and just in the last, I think 48 hours, I really started to think about the word consolation prize in this context. And so that organically, I mean, I guess it was not organic, but also happened to be in the ether of my mind.
I think ether of your mind is a great way to describe your mind.
That's, there's so many little things that happened in the last several months, but I think existential, just another level of it that we've explored so many times, the 3 of us or 4 of us at times. But like on another level of like the creatureness of it, I've been going through what the fuck is that? I think I'm understanding maybe both of your existential dread in a deeper way, where it's maybe I've been a little bit so in my own shit that I'm like, oh, when people are scared of the pandemic and these things, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm not that I wasn't scared and going through it too, but now I'm like, oh, Amber and Sean.
You're so focused on yourself that outside circumstances don't really affect you, is what you're saying.
Well, I would say that on some level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the condition for a lot of people. And in and out, I think, I've been exploring and on a journey of self for most of my adult life, but just on the existential.
I think you got lost.
For sure. But does that make sense?
It's been a long journey. Too bad there was no map, nobody asked for directions.
Did I tell you about I definitely have told you about Beat, but in my journaling, on every page now, my journal now, I write, "This is the map." Have I shared that? Because I don't think that's a new thing.
We just last heard about high beat, right?
Yeah.
So
and
now,
what is it? Remind me what high beat is again. It's like hello in back
Like
everywhere at
bodacious
the thing.
energy.
Yeah.
that was a very short phase of the anagram. Is that an anagram? No, that's a.
It's this thing like scuba, like radar, like
What is that?
I don't remember what it's called, but what was it? It was something.
I mean, that was like frequency, beat, vibration. I think those words kind of played into
No, but there was something specific to it. It was like be everywhere at times or something like that.
Beat was just beat is like kind of my inner teacher. It's my maybe my soul.
Bald eagle and troll. That's what the fuck it was.
Oh, good. That is so crazy to me. I mean, you're the best
That is
listener.
good, Sean.
That was 32 years ago. We talked about that.
I mean, still like the project like that I so the most excited that one day we'll get to do. Okay, so I hi Beat, and then Beat says hi Jamie, and it's evolved, and this is every day now when I check in. Hi Beat, hi Jamie.
You write this.
I just read it.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it, but I'm just saying, like you literally write like hi Jamie, hi Beat.
Oh yeah, and then beaming because
100%
of the time, as soon as I have that little interaction, like there's a legitimate I'm beaming. But then I think we talked about that there's the level of like also I'm beaming into the frequency of the universe. But now I always say welcome back or welcome home. Like because I'll go days without writing my journal. And then as soon as I get back, I'm like, this is every day I need to get to this journal because this is where I connect with myself. And then welcome back. And then I love you. And I started saying I love you to myself. And sometimes that's all I write. And that's enough. But usually that's the entry point to then just kind of journal.
But sometimes you write I love you, but
kind of. I mean,
but
sure.
you write something about a map. That's how this started.
Oh, and then so.
And this is on camera outside your theater, right?
You're just screaming it at a security camera.
Well, that's like the tethering to reality and the creatureness. Yeah, why wouldn't I at some point just be screaming that in a park? I might be one day.
Mm-hmm. We all might be one day.
I like in those moments where I'm like, you see someone that's, lost it or is going through it. And I'm like, it is such a thin, like,
oh yeah.
Arguably, I'm doing that in my car every day to myself. Or just.
You just have privacy. Yeah.
I have privacy. And I don't think it's anything ultimately worrisome. I think that's why I connect with people like you to hear and know that you do it too. Makes me feel great.
I didn't say I do it too.
I have a quick question that is related, and then we'll get back to the
whatever map. This was. Yeah.
Do you guys dance at your house?
Yes.
Me too.
Not enough. Every time I do, and it's usually involves maybe a little bit of weed, but I'm just start dancing, and I'm like, I'm back.
What about you, Sean?
I do, and Jamie never sees me. I'm at his house, and I.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
I ask because my friend Whitney, who I know Sean knows, I don't know if Jamie knows. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it might have been on a text thread. It truly doesn't matter. But it was a bunch of us, and she was like, "I hate in commercials when like there's a woman like dancing around her kitchen," and we were all like, "Why?" And she's like, because no one does that. And we all were like, we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
She thought it was patronizing. And we're like, you're just joyless.
Oh, that's so sad. She needs to dance.
So now it's become like a running joke. And she's like holding firm. She's like, I will never dance.
It gets expensive for me having a woman dancing around my kitchen, but it's worth it.
Pays for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Way.
So wait, when did the map part of your journaling?
And what does it signify and how is it playing out?
playing out. I don't know. Like it's all got me right here, right
the
now.
results speak for themselves.
Got me to talking to you, and somehow the sign and the security guard camera came up. I know it's kind of cliche, but the metaphor of diving and being focused and connecting to something more to create anything.
Here we go with the old metaphor of diving again. What a cliche.
I feel like 10 years ago, it was like the treasure map is the treasure. That was the map thing.
Oh, that was a you
treasure map is the treasure.
Yeah.
Way, like part of my search is like I'm looking for the map. I just want to find the map on what am I supposed to do with my life. Like every single day, I'm still struggling. But what I'm writing down, the map is right here. As soon as you start writing, as soon as you start, ideally getting past the surface level and getting to the part where it's just coming through me, like that's the map to find anything. It's just that's where the expression comes from, and that's all there is to live for, including the dancing. Like, and I mean, I think so much about, especially in the early years of this podcast, and probably the later years too. But
today, for that matter,
right now, I'm starting to get in my head. But like the playing and the improvising and how in my head and the lawyers and all that stuff, it's like
lawyers. Did we have lawyers at one point?
The Southern lawyers.
Oh, we have.
Oh.
But the lawyer in my head, that's like trying to pick out every word that I'm going to say. Like,
right.
It's the only work I have to do is to get past that for anything I want to do. It's to get past the fucking ego and just be me. And it's
now my thing about maps is they take you there. You use it to go from one place to another. So what is the place you're starting and what's the place you're going when you're using these maps every day?
A place of a voice in my head that in the loops that are constant all day to a place of connection with
feels like you don't know where you're going.
You need a map.
Yeah, where's the map?
No, the map is trusting your intuition. I think the map is just tapping into something higher where I'm just not stuck in getting in my own way with my own stupid thoughts.
Jamie, I feel like I'm in a similar place. I feel like I'm maybe less dramatic or poetic or symbolic, or I don't know
metaphoric
about it, but like I think that I've spent a lot of my life just kind of like, what should I be doing? And I'm trying to settle, and I think I'm accomplishing it, of just like this is what I'm doing.
I think that's the secret. Like, this is what I'm doing. Being focused on any one thing. And it's, it's every book I've ever read, not every book, but ones that are thematic to self-exploration or Buddhism or whatever it is. But yeah, that's all the thing. Like, I can hear it. I've heard it 1,000 times. Like the power of now and live in the moment and all these things that feel like, no, but you really got to do it. That is the work. And that's the work.
And also hearing it and internalizing it are totally different things.
And having the tools just to recognize, I mean, that really is the work all day, every day. Oh my God, I'm in this loop. I know on one level, my obsession with steps has always been to like, just avoid focusing on something.
Do you feel like your obsession with step, like, is it having the desired effect? Like, are you, because I feel like the 10,000 steps thing to me is like a fitness and weight loss kind of thing, right?
And it's a myth. It's been debunked.
Well, it started because,
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Let's find out if it's a myth or not. Is it working?
It's better for me to be outside getting fresh air sometimes than being in my apartment overthinking things.
Totally.
And I think the fitness, But yeah, I've read the articles, like anything over 7,500 is whatever.
Those 7,500 articles.
I've read the 7,500 articles.
Mhm.
But you know what's weird? It's kind of a tangent, but going back to the first few years of Long Shot 2, of now being 5 years of Dynasty, I feel like I look back at when I was at the Improv, and especially the point where I was putting on the shows and doing the Spanglers and performing almost, several times a week. And like, if you asked me then, I would have been like, I'm struggling to figure things out. And it's like, I look back and like, I was doing
it.
And there's a version of myself that opened a theater. There's a version of myself that I've been so disconnected from because opening the theater has forced me to like the people pleasing and all the things. And I feel like probably last time I was on, we talked about this too, because it was like, oh my God, I'm just starting now to reconnect. Like I think so many people post-pandemic that have lost connection to their heart. But like, oh my, I just like couldn't even connect to a version of myself that could have ever opened a theater or like and taken the steps. And so now I'm finally just feeling the spark again. And I did some psychedelic drugs a few weeks ago.
There it is.
Boy, this took a turn. I reconnected to the version of myself that takes psychedelic drugs.
It was
What'd you do and where, and tell us everything.
Yeah, I should have started with this. But I would say, like, I feel like I've been coming out of the shell for the last few months, but that experience has helped. It was the first time I did anything since right before the pandemic. I did ayahuasca, which I know we talked about back then. But I was invited to a group. It was a men's group, and there was 30 guys, men.
I already just picture this ending with all of you like jerking off in a circle.
Well,
don't say well like that.
I will say, a friend of mine invited me who I feel like he would have told me about a circle jerk situation. But I will say when I got to this place, and it was at a guy's house in Pasadena, and perfect house to do drugs in, like a big backyard with water features and wind chimes and Buddhist statues. And
let me ask you this. How soon did you have to take your clothes off?
Well, when I got there, I did clock some nothing sexual, but some just
nudity.
No.
Male nudity, some floppy penises hanging around.
No. But just some
ball sacks, just
nope.
I didn't know what he clocked. What did you clock? I'm on the edge of my seat.
So were they, unfortunately.
I clocked just some people like holding hands and like some massages and it definitely just like, I was like on alert. Not that with any judgment at all of that, but I'm like, and I know that a lot of they've been doing this particular group, and I was one of 6 new people, but a lot of these people have known each other for 15, 20 years. They've been doing this, periodically for a long time. So there was a level of intimacy. But no, there was never any sexual.
Well, and what was this? Like, was there a ceremony?
So there was, as the sun was setting, it was like all around under this tree, 30 men. There's
what happened to 10 of them? Where did 10 of them go?
Wait, no, there's always 30. Did I say 40?
40 before.
Oh, no, 30.
I thought there were 6.
I was one of 6 new people.
Did you say nude?
And we were going west.
Oh my God.
So there's 30 guys sitting around a tree. Some of them are holding hands. Some of them are massaging each other. I didn't even mean it like that. I just feel like there's always a thing where it's like, yeah, you know what? We're going to do this all together. So let's just fucking take our shirt. Let's get naked. Let's all be naked while we do this. Not even in a sexual way, but
that was my nightmare going in. Like I was like, and I was too scared to ask.
Oh yeah, you have a thing with nudity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the shirt.
Right. You have no pants on right now. Yeah.
I'm free all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's kind of like it's part of like there's a kind of a cult leader aspect.
How do you know this person that dragged you into this?
He's the fiance of someone, a very close friend of mine, and who I've.
So it's not somebody that you're close to.
Someone like, it's the person like I would say he's a friend.
You know him through your other friend, though.
Yeah, I think have we hung out without the friend? Maybe.
You can't say for sure whether you ever hung out with this person away from your friend until the time you got together with him and 29 other dudes and did drugs in a backyard in Pasadena.
I think that's accurate. Here's what I think. I don't know if I've ever hung out with him alone, but we've definitely had phone conversations just talking about it. So I feel like that's more than just the person you see around. And we've always connected on spiritual.
All right. Well, just keep going about the thing.
It's okay. So basically, it's a very curated experience and ceremony about how it goes down. And they're talking about, there's kind of like almost like a lesson, like a 30-minute kind of teaching about a concept they called, I forget the word. But basically how we're just absorbing
unity, togetherness, malehood.
You really want this to be that?
No, I want it to be what? I'm not wanting it to be anything.
I know that.
I'm just guessing at what they were talking about.
Well, I guess maybe kind of what Sean is dancing around. Was there a reason that it was all men?
Oh,
no women.
Well, I'll say this.
There was definitely a reason, but what was the reason? Yeah.
Yeah. I said it in a passive aggressive way.
Part of this group, they also have a women's group that's part of the same thing. And they also have a co-ed one. Mm-hmm. And I think it's, it allows men to be men, I guess, and to tap into the masculinity and.
Well, and not
it sucks so bad when men are not allowed to be men,
Mm.
I know, in this day and age, right?
Can't stand it.
I'm trying to think of the word. It was like entethering, and I mean, I can look it up. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
But I really am not. I'm not trying to imply anything sexual. I do think that there is a thing that has been going on for a while of like the men's movement, and we're all going to get together in the forest and take our clothes off and beat drums and be men together and be masculine and all this stuff. And I do think, that's a thing that still goes on. So I'm just trying to figure out if this was something like that or what was really happening, No,
I don't think it was like that. I think, I don't know. I don't have a good answer, but it wasn't that per se. Mm-hmm. Oh, a quick tangent is the week before I went to the Renaissance Fair, and I haven't been there in a couple of years and had so much fun, and the spirit of play and people getting dressed up. And I feel like, usually people wear Renaissance stuff, and I feel like it's just so beyond that now. It's like, just wear whatever you want. Like there's like people dressed up just like 70s disco. Didn't really work for me, but I was like, you go. I don't know, like
just like costume party general.
Yeah, there used to be like, oh, like there's gonna be Star Trek people because they're playing in that world, but now it's just I think like the 70s disco thing just threw me off. But just like, let's just go play in whatever costume we have. And as I was leaving, I was like, next time I come back, I think I want to get dressed up, because I did not get dressed up. And I was like, I think I would wear a skirt or like a kilt, because that's a thing. I was like, I think I'll be a kilt person. I'm down for a kilt. And so
Kiltman, they call it.
Yeah, Kiltman. Mm-hmm. So we break up into little groups. So first we all get our pill.
Okay, we're back at we've left the Renaissance Fair.
We've left Renaissance. And,
or is it a weirdly granular Renaissance pill that somebody made themselves in a little mortar and pestle?
Pestle?
Mortar and pestle, right? Isn't that what it is?
I thought pistol.
No.
Mortar and pistol? I don't remember.
Pistol is a firearm. So everyone is taking
different things too. Like not everyone's on the same trip. And part of the way it's designed is none of it's like going to make you, like ayahuasca was like, you're going into a deep state for hours and hours. This is designed so it's like an hour and a half of just like a heart opening kind of something.
Was the point to engender conversation under the influence of drugs, or was it just to sort of be together and be present and be tripping in some way?
As I found, they're open to all of it. And so
there was no map.
There was no map.
The treasure is the map.
The treasure is there.
The map is the treasure.
The map is the treasure. The treasure, right. Is the treasure. That's a much more concise way of putting it. But why not say treasure twice?
So what did you take? And how did they decide who got what? Like, was it?
And who were you with? And were they talking? And what were they on?
So they didn't tell me what I took.
They didn't tell you what you took.
No.
Did nobody know what they were taking? Or was it just you?
I don't know. I found out in this past week, I talked to one of the facilitators and he told me all the things I took.
Did you have to pay for this? And was it a placebo?
I did have to pay for it. And it was not a placebo.
I'm sorry. I can't get past that. Like, why don't you know what you're taking?
Yeah, that seems...
I think if I'd asked, they would have told me.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is there a pharmacist that decides like Jamie needs this concoction and Bubba needs this concoction and Peter needs this concoction?
Yes, I think so. Like, it was pretty
I want to talk about my concoction.
So it was like personalized to just you?
I'm sure there's like a handful of things that are... I know the first thing that everyone's taking is what they call a heart opener. To something.
Which is what?
I think
cocaine.
I had to sniff.
I was going to say sugar, but okay.
I found out that what I took was called Kana. After I took it, I was like pretty convinced that I took a combination of mushrooms and Molly. Like that was like from past experience. I was like, that's what I'm on. And I had like the most beautiful, just like, I immediately, as soon as I started feeling it, just was like, went to the far end of the backyard and just found a bench and sat with some trees and just was just like, just joyful. And this guy came up to me after a few minutes and this is where I was like, all right, here's where it starts.
Wait, did you really have that feeling?
Yeah. I was sitting on this bench and that was like, it felt like mushrooms to me. It was like the trees started coming alive in a way. And I just had the biggest smile. And I was just like, I think.
You thought this guy was going to walk up and go, what a beautiful day. Do you mind if I suck your dick?
Mind.
I mean, by that point, I was not thinking about that. But as soon as now that like someone that I didn't know was approaching, I think there was like,
something bad is about to happen.
Or good. I guess I'm open-minded, but it seemed like
something's about to happen.
But here's what happened.
Just took drugs that I don't know what I took, and I'm in a backyard with 28, 29, somewhere in between 25 and 30 other men, and I don't know what's going on, and this could get ugly.
So this guy that came up was actually one of, I think, 3 or 4 guys that did not take any drugs, who's just there to make sure everyone was...
Those are the guys you got to watch out for.
And he just said, how you doing?
Was he worried about you being on a bench?
I think he was just kind of doing rounds, like, and just like, so basically when it first hit, and I'll get back to the Renaissance fair thing in a minute, but
oh, good.
Actually, let's just back up real quick.
Ooh.
So usually they said the groups are much smaller and like they'll go around the entire group and everyone will kind of set their intention. Or
in terms of number or in terms of physical presence?
But when they said that, did that hurt your feelings? Because you were one of 6 new guys. So you're like, oh, did you not want me here?
Wait, when they said what?
We're usually
Groups
a much
usually
smaller
much smaller.
group. We usually get a lot more accomplished.
Or were you like, he thinks I'm big?
No, I think it didn't occur to me to be anything. It just seemed like, but they decided we're not going to go around the whole group, but we're going to break up into smaller groups, and that's where you can kind of talk about your attention versus intention. And so there's probably 4 people in my group. Basically, oftentimes for drugs or other things, they want you to set your intention. But they made the distinction because, and I like it because intention sometimes implies a specific outcome, desired outcome, versus just talking about where your attention has been and where it makes it more open-ended to what it can be.
Well, and with an intention, you could fail. And
right, I think that's basically
and if you place your attention somewhere, you can't fail. It's you're just paying attention to something.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Would they have a problem if I wanted to set my contention?
I think they'd be open to it.
I disagree, but anyway, go ahead.
So in the small group around, and the first guy that's talking says, so his attention has been with the Renaissance Fair because he's one of the guys that works, like he's part of the group, and he was part. I don't remember what they're called, but he's part of like
the 70s time traveler group.
No, the kilt wearing group.
Shut up.
He was like, yeah, I forgot what he said to make me know that it was a kilt group, but
Kiltman.
We wore kilts.
It's like we're during the parade, and I got into it with one of my fellow kiltmen, and
I wear a very particular costume when I go to the Renaissance Fair from my home country.
Did you freak out because it was so?
I was getting like goosebumps. I was like, of course, like one of the first guys I meet is a kiltman, and I told him, and he actually was like, oh, I'll have the brigade officer give you a call if you want to join us next week. And
I would give you a card, but I can't carry a wallet in my kilt.
It's true. So that was just the first time I was like, I felt, oh, okay, this feels like I'm glad to be here. Because I was a little bit nervous going into it, like to take drugs with strangers. So anyway, now I'm in the back corner.
Understandably, by the way.
Unknown drugs.
So when it starts, like before it hit me, there's 4 other guys in this group. A couple of them were like, oh, I'm going to go lay down. And then another guy was like, I'm going to go to my area too. And by the way, you had to bring sleeping bags and blankets, and you set up shop. Some people were set up in the house. I had like a spot out near a hammock and near the fire pit.
I had a spot near a hammock.
Good
right,
point.
Lucky me. I'm almost in the hammock.
And so I started feeling it. I go to the back edge of I'm sitting in the thing. So the guy comes up and he's like, how you doing? And I was like, I'm really, really good. I'm really good. And he's like, do you feel safe? I was like, I do feel safe. And then he's like, all right, well, enjoy your journey. And then he walked away. So dodged a bullet. But from that point
in what sense do you, what do you mean you dodged a bullet?
Oh, just in the sense of like, am I going to have to jerk someone off or get jerked off? Or
let's see.
Which I've...
So when you said, yes, I feel safe, you actually were lying to him.
No, I wasn't. I think in that moment...
You would have been safe giving him a hand job.
No.
You didn't
I think I would have...
see the like possible seedy situation till after. We're adding the like negative connotation.
You're saying dodged a bullet now, but that's not how you felt at the time.
Oh, I think I just, going into the situation, knowing it was a men's group, and then seeing, I think that there was some intimacy. I did have just my own comfort level with the things that could come up if this was a group that gets naked or.
And they may or may not have been aware of your affinity for sleeping bags.
That's a really good point.
It's kind of.
I mean, there were
you have a history.
Jamie started fucking.
That was 64 years ago. We talked about that.
I know. By the way, we're cleaning out my parents' garage probably like 9 months ago, and the old crusty got thrown in a trash can, but the old crusty was in the garage.
The very same.
the same one. It was a green sleeping bag with like a red and black kind of checkered inside.
Sounds very sexual.
So, but no, as soon as he did say, "Do you feel safe?" I did. At that point, and it also made the thing, like when I initially talked to the guy who was kind of vetting me for the group, he was like, "What do you want to get out of this group?" And I rambled for what felt like 10 minutes. And he was like, "If I'm listening to you, what I'm hearing is that you're about to enter your 5th year of this business you started, and you're really ready to start coming into your power and creativity in new ways." It's like, yeah, that sounds good. So I kind of went in thinking that my journey was going to be related to that. But at that moment in the back corner, I was like, I made a conscious decision. I was like, I'm just going to let go of what this should be or what I want it to be. Just let this be what it wants to be. Which Sean and Amber, like, it's just like with comedy and fucking improv, it's like they really are the tenets of life, and play and yes-anding and just seeing where things are going to go. And it keeps coming back to that. But then...
Got a little weird at the end there, but go ahead.
But we let it be what it wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rest of the trip, so I was just glowing. And at a certain point, I was like, maybe I should be more social. So I kind of wandered over. And but basically, some people are retreated in their areas, just like laying down in their own head doing...
Did anybody get the hammock?
I don't think anyone was in the hammock at any point.
Dang.
Which is a missed opportunity.
What a waste.
But there's always people around the fire, kind of like groups of 2 or 3 that people are just talking. And so I was like, maybe I should be more social. So I started walking over towards it. But then I saw my sleeping bag and it was like too good to pass up. And so I just got into my sleeping bag. And I don't know if this was 20 minutes or an hour, but was just wrapped up in a fetal position. I felt like I was in the womb, just looking up at like these purple lights going into the tree and this music playing and this fire like right over there, and just wrapped in like this warm glow of just like everything is okay. Everything is okay. And it felt so good. And I wasn't having like a crazy like mushroom trip or anything. Like it was just like pure just bliss.
No, you were just on Kano.
Kana, yeah. Which I think from my research, it might be legal in small doses, but whatever it was, I mean, I don't know how much I took, but it was great. So then finally I was like, I think I don't want to be the guy that one of the 6 new guys that just was in his own head the whole time. I feel I should be somewhat social. So then I get out of my sleeping bag and my friend checks in with me. We chat for a couple minutes. He's like, have you gotten your booster? And I was like, no. And so I knew, like, as part of the thing, you get...
This was all a COVID scam.
Maybe. And like, so they want to give you your booster. I was like, yeah, I want to go get a booster. And so they're like, just go to the kitchen. And so I wander into the kitchen where the 2 main guys that are like the leaders of the group are just sitting at this table, and someone's just like, just wait till this. They were talking to someone, and then as soon as he got up, they're like, have a seat. You know, I'm still just in a blissful state, and they're just like, just looking at these 2 older guys. And I think I was one of the youngest people there. I think it was mostly men in their 50s, 60s, 70s. And but these 2 guys just looking at me and like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm so good. I'm so good.
Now, are these guys on anything, or are these some of the sober guys?
I think they're both sober guys.
Hmm.
And they're like, well, where do you want to go? Do you want to go deeper inside? Do you want to be more social? Like, where do you want to take this? And I was like, yeah, I think more social. And so
that's when the cocaine came out.
Gave me another pill. And by the way,
you still didn't know what it was.
No.
Hmm.
I was comfortable with it. I felt safe. I knew that they weren't trying to fuck me up.
Hmm.
And so I took this other pill, and then I wandered to the fire, and then just spent the next. And I at another point took a 3rd pill. But the rest of the night it was just social, having conversations, and just opening up and just feeling really good. And,
what did you talk about with people? Anything good? This better be good. This better be good if you say yes.
I think life and relationships. And at one point, the Renaissance Fair guy sat down next to me, and and he was definitely just in a really good place, but he was pretty incoherent. But I noticed that,
which may or may not have been the drugs. I mean, who knows? The guy's a Renaissance Fair guy. He may be incoherent all the time.
But
I try to tell people every time I go down to the Renaissance Fair and wear my kilt and then transport.
That's what he sounded like. I mean, he really did sound pretty incoherent. But I noticed that my energy, like when he sat down, was like, didn't want to engage with him at first. Like I was in a place and he was clearly in a place, and I was like, but again, I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up. This human being is sitting down next to me. And I just turned to him, and it felt like it was probably 30 minutes of him just expressing. I didn't understand the words so much, but just nodded and just.
I know that feeling. Go on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You set him up pretty good for that one.
Been setting him up for the last 20 minutes. But I just I just gave him my attention, and he was just
your attention or your intention?
My attention. And that was pretty much it. And then I went to bed, and a few hours later we woke up. There was a big breakfast. And then what they think is, and I believe too, is the most important part is the integration ceremony.
The spanking train?
Sure. So that it took over 3 hours, but I'm going around the circle, and every single person shares their experience and what they took away from it. And as I was starting, I was like, I literally don't know what I'm going to say. I was like, it's a great trip, man. Like, I feel like I didn't, as opposed to like the ayahuasca, where I was like, oh my God, I saw this and talked to this spirit and connected dots and like saw the meaning of life. This was just like, no, it was just, but that's part of the experience, is as you're hearing people talk and you're like, oh yeah. And then you start making connections and just hearing other people talk about what they're experiencing. Like by the time it got to me, I felt like I had things to share. And the number one thing was, I was like, I thought that my whole journey was going to be about work and where I'm at with that. And what I realized was this was the last 10 hours that I did not think about work.
Oh, nice.
At all. I was like, honestly, I don't know when.
Is this one of the new guys, Ben?
Well, and also this is the first time I haven't been on my phone for 10 hours. Like I just didn't look at my phone. I was like, that alone was absolutely everything. And I said a few other things. That was that. But then,
did you mention steps at all?
Steps didn't come up, I don't believe. It got to the Renaissance Fair guy, and he's sharing his experience, and he's like, and I just want to thank Jamie. This is all my ego right now, but I was like, I feel like Jamie is like a professional journeyer, which was like the best thing I could hear.
You're like, check out my business card, bro.
Actually,
and check out my maps. Every page is a new map.
But he's like, last night I just, I sat down next to him, and he just he held such space for me, and I was so appreciative, and I appreciated hearing.
Did you tell him he was completely incoherent?
I didn't add that.
I didn't really have a choice but to hold space because I couldn't understand what the fuck you were saying.
I don't think ultimately it mattered. I mean, it didn't. But then
a lot of people tell me I'm completely incoherent, but Jamie just held space for me.
I think it was such a lesson in just how I'm often avoiding or prejudging or just not just giving myself to others and just listening and being there. But then when the group was done, a guy came up to me and was like, hey, that was the way you held space for the other guy. He's like, I was talking when he was talking, I was like, Jamie mentioned he has a theater, and it occurred to me, like,
Mm-mm.
so what you do for a living is you hold space for people. And like, that's literally what you do is you have this place that, and I was like, thank
You should meet Dan. He's an astronaut. He also holds space.
But that like might be the best takeaway from it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really cool.
I've never thought about it in that kind of way, and that literally the space, especially, like I try to be at the theater as often as possible, but there's nights when like it's just like I don't go in, and like it happened at the Improv too. Like, any night that I wasn't at the Improv and any night I'm not a Dynasty, I'm like, I feel guilty or like shameful, like, oh, there's people putting on a show and I'm not there to support it. I know that like at the end of the day, there are definitely people that probably are like clocking it, but it's like, it doesn't matter whether I'm there or not. It's nothing to do with me. Like I have the space, and that's my offering to the people that are working there and performing there. And I'm still struggle with like, I still want to make Bald Eagle Control. I still want to put on shows and do my own thing, but like just be the reminder, like that's there if and when that happens. But in the meantime, there's a space and people are using it. And
Can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Why do you think, out of all this experience, that you have become a frequent user of the word clocking? Because I've clocked that you have been using that word a lot. Do you think there's a specific reason that I'm clocking your use of
Time,
clocking?
man. Time.
That's a good question. I do think it's a pretty new
It is. I've never heard you say it before.
addition to the vocab.
Mhm.
I don't know where it came from.
All
I'm
right.
still curious. Did you learn what the second two pills were?
Oh, I think they were both
Vitamins.
sassafras. Am I in trouble? Should I have not shared any of this? This is like a private group that I just shared. Like,
You're not in trouble. No one knows who you're talking about.
okay, I just want to make sure. Like,
But sassafras is like a flavoring for root beer, right?
you're not wrong. No,
I do think, like, I don't know. You do you, but I would have a hard time being like, here's a bunch of people I don't know giving me stuff I don't know what it is, and I'm just going to hang out and chill while I see what happens, and whatever happens, man.
That's totally fair. And it's like, as you say that, it's like, yeah, I didn't realize how much trust I gave it, but
It worked out.
it worked out. And I talked to the leader of it before, and talking to him and hearing about the history of it. And then of course my friend, like him vouching, having done it, I think 3 or 4 times
Mhm.
himself. I didn't feel like I was getting into anything.
The leaders, I forget the leader's name. You said it was like the Prophet Melchizedek or something like that.
Well, it does seem like there is.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
You're going to go to level 2 at the next party. And by the time you get to level 5, you're going to be a completely different person.
Well, I was scared that you were going to say that they said, oh, Jamie has a theater. So, like, can you
Let's do
host
it there.
something?
Yeah.
Like,
We can watch The Wall.
then you're in deep.
I instantly left, not necessarily with the group, but I was like, I got to do like mushrooms or something in the theater. Like I still haven't, like, I need to talk to the walls. And
Mhm.
You haven't taken full advantage of the Dynasty Typewriter.
no, I'm really excited to.
You've been holding space, but the space hasn't been holding you, man.
Thanks, Amber.
Holy shit.
There was another guy there who was in the 70s, I think, but he, before I even spoke or said anything, he was involved in theaters himself and a couple of dance studios, but like he said that
Sounds dubious, by the way.
he said he helped open a space.
He's involved in theaters himself. Okay, sure.
I'm not talking
He sells theaters on the black market.
He used to do hot tubs. Now he does theaters.
a
You
black,
want a theater? This guy can handle it.
but he said like one of his theaters was also, I haven't even spoken to the group, and I haven't spoken to him, so it felt very organic. But he was like, it's almost on 5 years for him too, but it's like, it takes 5 years for a theater to absorb the Shakespeare. And he said that, and that really inspired me too. I was like, 5 years, that makes sense on some level. It's like,
I'm not following 100%. Could you walk me through it a little bit?
No. I get it. That totally makes sense. It takes 5 years to absorb the Shakespeare.
I think it makes.
I want to understand. I'm not being.
I get it 100%. I get it. It takes 5 years to absorb the Shakespeare. You have the Shakespeare. You want to absorb it. It takes 5 years.
For the space itself, and I do think on a, like a spiritual level, like a space can absorb the energy.
Yeah, sure, of course, we all think that.
Wait, I literally don't know.
I do think that. I'm just being flippant.
But during that, I was like, okay, as we're coming on almost 5 years of Dynasty, it's like, okay, it's like literally the walls themselves, and
oh, like it's marinating.
yes, marinating. Like, oh, okay,
In Shakespeare.
I guess the Shakespeare is what threw me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a 1-for-1 situation.
He was using Shakespeare as a metaphor for diving.
The treasure is the map.
The treasure are the walls.
And the walls are their money.
I think you get it.
No, I definitely get it now.
So how are you guys?
Well, interesting you should ask that, because this feels like a good place to take a break. So let's do that. And we will be right back after this brief intermission.
Bye-bye.
Did we start?
We did.
Is it up? Okay, we're back. Hey, everybody, we're back. It's The Long Shot with myself, one of your hosts, Sean Conroy, one another of your hosts, Amber Kenny, and a third of your hosts who is rarely around anymore, but has made it tonight. Jamie Flam is here, having been on a long, strange trip that he ignored maps for almost 11 hours.
Can I make one point before?
Oh boy!
Point.
Yep.
I just want to acknowledge that what I was talking about earlier about diving and getting past, like, and I think in a way, even looking back at my being a part of this podcast.
Oh, here we go.
On a certain, I mean, it's definitely like looking back at the last 12 years of Long Shot, but like,
This is it.
yeah, I started on the surface like I would with my journaling or anything else. Like, I don't know, I'm steps, like, but that's the top layer, and I'm trying to get, and that's where it's like the little things. Oh, the drug trip. So we had to go digging. We had to go find, not that there's any ego about it being a treasure, but to get to a place where I could open up and start sharing myself and be like going deep and making connections and remembering things, like there has to be that top layer of getting through ego and overthinking and whatever it is. So thank you for sharing the space, giving me the space to do that.
It was.
I will say you really held a lot of space.
Thanks for holding space to allow that, and that's been the dynamic all along. And my light honors and sees the light in you.
Namaste.
Did they say that at your little drug thing?
No,
My light honors and sees the light in you.
they didn't say that.
Something like that, though, right?
I don't think that there was like, I mean, yeah, maybe. Yeah, they did.
No kind of formal address or anything like that.
I think just, I mean, when it ended, it was just.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to celebrate this thing called life. Anything like that?
No, but I will say, just to wrap that up, like it was, everyone was so sweet and just, and by the end, I mean, I wasn't intimately touching people, but you hugging people goodbye, like just even people that I like just saw after you see everyone share in the circle, like it's like you do feel
So
connected.
close to them. Yeah.
So they're giving hugs, and I remember since then, like I'm walking down the street and like people are walking their dogs and like not looking me in the eye, and like I'm like, how sad. Not that we should necessarily hug, but like,
Yeah, don't do that.
like they're just
You
it
get in
doesn't
trouble.
bum me out. Like I can get in my head like just. I tried like with everyone. Hey, good morning. I've always been like that, but like a lot of people don't, and I guess that's fine. But
I'm in an interesting situation currently, being COVID positive, and I still have to walk smudgy. So I go out and I wear a mask, but I will like actively avoid other people. And then if we are somehow like I miscalculated and somebody's walking on the sidewalk that I'm on.
I'm sorry, I accidentally hugged you.
No, I'll go like to the street and I will look away from them. And it's, to your point, Jamie, it's against my nature. Like I want to like make eye contact and say hello and say good morning, but in my head I'm like, I don't want any of my particles going in their direction. I'm like, I want to be as safe as possible, but I'm sure I'm coming off as rude as fuck.
no, it's so good to hear you say that, because I try to, like, I have the dialogue in my head that's like, well, what if they just found out something bad? Like, not giving the benefit of the doubt, like trying to just be empathetic, because I will very quickly go into like, fuck you, you fuck. Oh. Not like out loud in my head.
No,
like, fuck you. Why you cannot go out and walk your dog? But like to remember, like, yeah, maybe they're trying to not get me sick.
Maybe I'm trying to.
I saw that weird girl who just looks away all the time again this morning, Dave. I don't like when she looks away. Honey, did you ever think that she might be trying to keep her particles away from you? All right. Well, we'll get into parting shots, and I'll go first because it specifically relates to exactly what we're talking about right now.
Wow.
Which is, and I it's funny you were asking about Aurelio Buendia, which is the name I have in my little thing now, and that's the colonel in 100 Years of Solitude. And I really just randomly wrote that. But then when you asked about it, I was thinking, like, I wonder if there is, like, I have been in solitude in my apartment for like 100 years right now,
Yeah.
Desperate for like human contact of any kind of along the lines of what you guys are talking about, that Jamie's trying to go hug people in West Hollywood, and Amber's trying to keep people away from her particles, all that kind of stuff. And so I was at the supermarket this week, and it's weird to be in public with people at this point because everybody's sort of, or at least for me it is, because everybody's sort of unsure, like, do you wear a mask? Do you not wear a mask? Whatever. So I'm wearing a mask. I'm still a mask guy. I'm 100% masked. And I'm walking around the produce section. You have different sections in your supermarket. The produce is where you have your
produce.
I don't know what your rutabagas and
apples,
your
bananas,
pastrami,
lettuce.
whatever is in there. Yeah. And so I leave my cart because, sometimes you leave your cart over to the side because you're like, it's easier for me to just walk over and get this thing without wheeling the cart all the way over there and blah, blah, blah. So I go over, I get the thing, whatever it is. Let's say it's a green pepper. Let's say it's a yellow pepper. Okay. It's a yellow pepper. And
how many?
2. And I grab both of them and I come back and there's a guy standing next to my cart and he's talking to his, I don't know, wife, girlfriend, side piece, whatever she is. Well, they're relatively the same age. It doesn't mean you couldn't be somebody's aunt and be the same age.
Yeah,
you could
my niece is the same age difference as I am to my brother.
Yeah, you lost me. But anyway, so he is talking to her next to my cart. She is standing on the other side of him.
They have your cart hostage.
Not even, but he just goes, I found them. They're right here. And he puts all this stuff in my cart.
No.
And yeah. And I just go, and she looks confused for a second. And I just go, I'll take it. Whatever it is. I want it. I'm taking it with me. And it was that moment of like, they were so delighted by that. They could not stop laughing about the fact that I was on board with them putting their stuff in my cart.
You didn't say, hey, that's my fucking cart.
The guy was like, it looked like ours. Like, you're getting a lot of the same things.
Carts tend to look kind of similar.
So it was just a moment where I was like, it's good to be back in the world for 2 seconds, you know? And then, you know, whatever, we got to the parking lot and they were like, do you want to come back to art? So I went. They live in Pasadena. I went to their backyard. They gave me they said, here, take this. And I took it.
We can't tell you what it is.
I woke up very close to the hammock. Like, I could not have been closer to the hammock.
You are bragging right now.
Yeah, I was like almost touching the hammock, like so close. But anyway, so that was my big thrill, was just like making human contact for 2 seconds at the supermarket.
Which market?
What's that?
Which supermarket?
I think it was a Ralph's or a Pavilions or a Vons or a John's or maybe an A&P. Maybe it was a Trader Joe's. Yeah, I don't. It is the supermarket where I've seen Jorge before, but he was not there at this time. Jamie, parting shots.
I'm just surprised we're parting shots. I thought like I'd hear about your lives above and beyond the.
You went on for so long.
I suppose I did.
That it's impossible for us to keep going.
But it was wonderful because I would say Sean specifically is always sort of trying to pull information, stories, talking out of you, Jamie. And so the fact that it was happening, like,
yeah, we
ain't gonna stop it.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, enough is enough, but yes.
And so have you guys missed, like, you've been going week after week for the last several months?
Non-fucking stop.
And has Joe been around at all?
No.
Not even
let's not get into that.
Once. Not even an email.
Not even an email. But I feel like yeah. Okay. Joe. Parting shot.
My suspicion is he does not listen to the podcast either. So, not that he should.
It would be insane if he listened to it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jamie. Parting shots. And let's keep it to under 40 minutes, maybe.
I'll try. Well, play. The idea of playing.
I forgot what this was like.
I don't have anything.
This is how we started, but we got somewhere. It just takes a while. You got to warm up, baby.
Play. Idea of play.
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. Plato. The cave. Plato's cave. Caves. Caving. Cave in.
Diving in caves.
Like Sean, you at the supermarket.
You can't use that one. I already did.
But it illustrates the point I want to make about something I talk a lot about in therapy and going back to the idea of improv and everything. It's like the spirit of play is, like, I would say, like the priority for my life, and that I'm really trying to lean into more as often as possible. And it's being open. And I think that was part of that trip I took, actually actively saying, like, let's see where this goes and being open to it. And I keep going back to the tenets of improv, and that is just my continued focus in life, is how do I continue to be better at letting things go and not being stuck in my head and being open to playing. And that's where the fun is, and not trying to control everything, which is the hard part. So play.
Yeah, I felt like that kind of petered out a little bit, but
I don't disagree.
I know you've been out for a while, so maybe you're a little out of. Well, it's not even that you're out of practice. You just were never in practice, and now practice makes less than perfect. So play, great. Amber, parting shots.
I have a couple things. One, I am so happy Jamie was here because I don't feel amazing, and it was nice to not have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. It was fun to just react and laugh. So thank you for that. Secondly, you had a profound experience next to a hammock. I also had a hammock experience that I want to talk about. Because I have a ton to talk about, but guess what? Our lives are pretty fucking boring. So at least I have like locked and loaded things to talk
Next
about
week.
for the next
Yeah.
few
I was
weeks.
thinking about that. Yeah.
But I did go to Mexico for a wedding. And one of the first days there, I went and I found a hammock on the beach and I laid in it and I was reading. Like classic, I'm in a bikini, I'm reading a book, I'm on the beach, it's beautiful, tropical, everything's great. And what was fun is because we were there for a wedding, everybody at that resort and on that beach was also there for the wedding. And so if I knew most of them, and if I didn't know them,
You knew somebody who knew them.
there was an easy opening.
Mm-hmm.
And Lampy and Kevin brought their dog Jan to the wedding. Jan was part of the wedding, so she was at the resort. And Jeff and I are so Looney Tunes bonkers in love with Smudgy now that we were like, we miss our dog, like immediately, even though he's a pain in the ass. But because they were planning a wedding, Jan was like kind of had rotated around different people. She was with the groom's brother and she was with the friend. You know what I'm saying? Like the bride and groom couldn't be with Jan all the time.
Bit of a wedding slut.
No, it wasn't even the wedding yet. It was a few days before. But the bride and groom were doing something, and so she was on the beach with I think it was actually the person who was the minister at the wedding. And Jan made a beeline. Jan's an older dog. Jan made a beeline to me and was like, had this like puppy excited energy. Like she was so happy to see me. And it made me feel really good. It was really nice for my ego that I was like, Jan, I'm happy to see you too. And anyway, I was like, she's welcome to jump in this hammock with me. And so they placed her in, and it was supposed to be just like a ha ha ha, like kind of photo opportunity. And then they would move on.
They photoshopped her out of the picture.
But she settled in immediately. She like nuzzled her head and took a nap in the hammock next to me. And I read my book. And so the person who was on Jan duty, the minister, Jess, was like just kind of standing over me. And I was like, I got her. Like, you don't have to stand there. And so Jan and I hung out for, I want to say like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And it made my heart explode. It made me so happy to be on a beach, reading a book with a dog cuddling me. Like, so that was one of my highlights of the trip. And it was a really fun trip. So I had a profound hammock experience.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. What book were you reading?
I was reading My Brilliant Friend, and it's the second time I'm reading it. I picked it on purpose because I don't know about you. I don't read as often as I wish I did.
Correct.
And especially on like a vacation, I want to know that I'm going to like it. I want to know that I'm going to get hooked into the book. Like, it's really tough to start a book and you're just like not feeling it and you're kind of reading the same page over and over again.
Hemingway used to travel with a suitcase full of books because he was like, if I'm bored with one, there's 50 more where that came from.
Well, I brought a couple, but the one I started with was My Brilliant Friend, which is Elena Ferrante. I think I'm saying that right. It's a 4-book series, and it this
is the one where the friend gets stupider and stupider over the course of the books.
Well, it follows these women's friendship from childhood, I want to say like 6 or 7, all the way till they're older women. And It's so fucking good. It's so well written. And I read those, I want to say sort of the beginning of 2020 and loved them. And so it was actually really fun to revisit. And I finished it on the vacation. I was really happy about it.
Well, the reason I ask is because is it possible that the dog was more interested in the book?
I guess so. That's possible.
Oh boy.
It's a really good
My
book.
Brilliant Friend. I love that one.
Well, and everyone's like, do you watch Jan all the time? Are you a regular Jan babysitter? And I was like, no. I mean, like, I've known Jan for 10 years now, and I like have Christmas at Jan's house, but I think she just kind of remembered me, and it made me feel good.
That's like the best like ego boost of all.
100%, because it feels like
it's only seeing my soul.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Folks, this has been The Long Shot with special guest and perpetual host Jamie Flam. Try some Kano, cocaine.
Be careful.
And don't forget to follow it up with a heavy dose of sassafras. That'll knock the shit out of you. We'll see you next time on The Long Shot.
Bye.
Bye.
Do I say goodbye? Or are we like we're
Jesus.
But I keep on coming back to what I found in our back seat. A sudden seeming snap to our collapse, our sad defeat, pertaining to the words you scribbled down on our old sheet. Cribbage champs 2017, Mark and Nancy. And what you're gonna have to tell me is we're not playing anymore. In all truth, I hate to lose you, but I've lost this way before, and it's hard to let you know that it's hard to let you go. But just don't try to say I didn't try to tell you so.